Good evening. Welcome to our annual meeting tonight, and a special welcome to all those who are following us on Facebook at home. We're happy that you didn't get out into the rain, and that even if you could have, you can stay pleasantly warm at home. So we're happy that we're starting to have some ability to have you follow from home. I'd like to comment, just because I'm sure it's a question. We've been waiting for our camera. It's ordered, and I got word just now on email that they're just waiting for the camera. They have all the parts, they're ready to install, but they're waiting for the camera. And because they were backlogged when we ordered it, we just have to wait for a good camera to come. So we hope in the next weeks that that'll be installed. So I'd like to begin this evening with a prayer, an autumn prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O God of creation, you have blessed us with the changing of the seasons. As we welcome these autumn months, may the earlier setting of the sun remind us to take time to rest. May the brilliant colors of the leaves remind us of the wonder of your creation. May the steam of our breath in the cool air remind us that it is you who give us the breath of life. May the harvest from the fields remind us of the abundance we have been given and the bounty that we can share with others. May the dying of the summer spirit remind us of your great promise that death is temporary and life is eternal with you. We praise you for your goodness forever and ever. Amen. One of the reasons we gather yearly, even though the crowd might be small, and again, hopefully many of you at home are listening, is to simply remind ourselves that we're about more than just a day-to-day kind of business, which sometimes a church can be. I'd like to read our very meaningful mission. This is St. Thomas the Apostle's mission. St. Thomas the Apostle Catholic community exists to be a vibrant, faith-filled community, proclaiming with our lives that God is deeply in love with us. Through open hearts, meaningful worship, and compassionate service, we model the spirit of Christ in the world today. And I think it's a good reminder, and I hope sometimes you go back to that. It's very often on our bulletin front, that mission of ours is one that is important to continue to keep in our mind. And as we're about some of the things that we can do and hope to do, and we'll hear about some of those tonight, we want to keep that mission in mind. We want to be a vibrant, faith-filled community, have meaningful worship, give compassionate service, and be a model of the Spirit of Jesus in our world today. That's why we're called as community. So we're going to have a report of several of our communities or committees, and the Pastoral Council discussed that a couple months ago, saying that we should vary the reports that we're hearing so that it's not always the same every year. So we did that this year. So we'll be hearing from the Finance Council, which is important to always keep our tabs on, the Worship Committee, the Living Justice Group, and Safety and Security. I'll be making a few comments about our Parish Mission Planning Group. So I'd like to invite the chair of our Finance Council, David Pfaffenbach, and he'll share a few things with you. If you didn't pick up a sheet, he does have some outline copies on the back table.
Thank you, Sister. On the back, you'll get the annual report, and there's a little sheet on the side, which are the financial highlights from 2019 and 2020. and it's something I printed up. It's not an official document, but it'll give you a little guide as to the highlights of our year. Thank you. Our finance committee consists of Ken Knopf, Tom Weary, Linda Dossler, Lori Jonason, Marietta Johnson, and myself, and of course, Sister Marlita. The financial budget is put together in the spring of 2019, and that's runs through the end of June in 2020. It should be noted that in 2016 we started with our bank loan. We didn't have a mortgage that would require us to get a total appraisal of the property in the building, and we didn't want to go through with that. So we took out a $700,000 mortgage in 2016 and through the grace of God, we finished it this September. Paid it all off, and we saved quite a bit of interest, and that was due to the donations received and the parishioners who gave us a little extra all the time, and it turned out quite well. So that's the first, probably the most important thing. We no longer have a loan that we have to pay off every month. The income that we have, all the account balances have been reconciled to our monthly and yearly statements. And those are treasurer trustee Lori Jonason checks every month. So we know at the end of the month that all the money coming in and where it went and everything's accounted for. It's interesting that our tithing for the year came out to be within $125 of what we budgeted in the spring of 2019. So if you look at that, we were accurate on our estimate at 0.003%. That's just a chance. A couple highlights there, our fundraising, our net after expenses, the script gave us $28,700. The wine and cheese is in May, so that did not go into this past year's books. So we have just the picnic and the monster cash is $22,900. And then we drop down to our donations. Our restricted donations were $22,000, or excuse me, unrestricted. Our restricted donations were $49,600, and then we have a category of building funds, memorials, and will, $51,150. So our tithing was, as you saw there, about $365,000. So that covers the great bulk of our expenses. And if you go to number 5, it shows that the expenses were $144,000 over our budget. It looks bad. Looks like we were short, but actually there's depreciation which we can't budget, and then it does not come in until the very end of the year. And that was $168,000, so that sort of knocks that down and makes it look like our expenses were much more than our income. One of the big projects we did this past year, because this is a merger of 4 churches, we had a lot of restricted funds. People from different parishes came together and they gave for different things, and this got carried over into the merger. And so eventually we were able to make adjustments to long-standing contributions, and they were characterized appropriately, put into the right box and the right category. And that's good, because then we know exactly where those monies, who they came from and where they are. Some of the things that happened this past year, the equipment, we replaced one of the original boilers over on the side over here, and the boiler burned up, or essentially got used up, and we had to replace that. We had a not very nice large donation towards that. We repaired the sprinkler system. We had some pump problems. We got that taken care of. And we did an installation of the security camera system. The next thing that we're just going to cover is financial support. We accept cash, check, ACH, it's automatic clearinghouse, and we now have Banco electronic payment via debt or credit cards. This may sound, we wondered why we maybe should be doing this, but I want to tell you that the Federal Reserve this past year did a study on consumer payments across the country. And in 2016, 31% of consumer payments, that would include church donations, 31% were cash. In the 4 years since then, that's dropped to 26%. And they think it's going to continue. And as you probably see in the news, cash is no longer king. Projects for this coming year, we did finish with the acoustic panels that were put in the social hall. We had signs put up at all the cemeteries for rules and regulations. We're doing an office computer update. We're trying to get it onto a network with data backup, so essentially everybody's on the same page. The sister mentioned we're putting in a streaming service, online streaming for our masses. We also are going to paint the walls and replace the carpet in the office. It's getting a little shabby in spots, and nothing's been done with that since we built that building. Also our roof on the social hall is getting a little thin in some places, and we plan to replace the roof and perhaps even the rain gutters, which some of them leak, and we're going to see about changing that system a little bit. And of course, the big one is our participation in the Roncalli Regional Catholic School, the grade school and middle school, and wherever that's going to be, but we're part of that program. If any of you have any questions, I'll try and answer them, I think when we get all finished, and then so we can keep going. Thank you.
Let's save our questions till the end, just so we can move along and be uninterrupted with our reports. So I'd like to invite Vicki, who's going to share a bit about her worship committee, and also will share about Living Justice. Our representative had to stay home today, so she'll comment on the Living Justice group too.
Good evening, everybody. Worship committee doesn't necessarily meet every month, but maybe more centrally before and after main liturgical celebrations. Since the pandemic started this year, worship committee really has not met more than once because of committee members' personal opinions and fears towards the virus, and just because there has not been any, there was no mass going on during that time. During our meeting, discussions were held regarding online streaming possibilities, and a few members did express concern over the possibility of members not returning to church if live stream was available. They figured they wouldn't use it anymore. But we'll see how it works. Other discussions have been regarding the loss of a very large number of volunteers needed to help keep Mass functioning, and the challenge of trying to even recruit volunteers while Mass numbers are down. We have yet to come up with any kind of solid solution, so if any of you has any, we'd be grateful to hear them. Also noted, things that were once common practice was specifically liturgy celebrations may not look the same as they did in the past, if they even happen at all. This may be due to the loss of volunteers, or just possibly because of the new limitations in place. Other notes liturgy related. It was originally planned to have a ministry safety training day in November as a follow-up or secondary training to the one provided to ministers and parish members last fall, which was very well attended back then. We were in the process of working closely with our safety and security team, and the plan was that immediately following our presenters, which were a local detective and lieutenant, our safety and security team would provide specific or clarified information regarding St. Thomas' possible emergency situations. Unfortunately though, due to the drastic loss of volunteers and very probable lack of attendance this year, plus we were informed that our speakers are no longer doing speaking engagements until further notice, training day is canceled for this, at least for this fall. I'm hoping it'll be rescheduled sometime in spring, but it's really based upon the presenter schedules, if they're open to speaking again, and if we have volunteers returning to their ministry, or if new ministers start volunteering to fill those roles. Other than that, we now face the big question of what will the holidays look like. So we ask for much patience as we have no idea what to expect this year. We encourage any and all members to get involved so we may continue to provide meaningful worship that our community and visitors know and love. So that's all I have from the worship end of it. And just a brief Living Justice report. They're 6 members strong, always looking for more that would like to join them. It is chaired by Deacon Steve. Since the last parish meeting, they did meet with the Hispanic community to help them with census information because they wanted to verify or assure them that all people needed to be counted. They've not met since March. Now as they meet again, their focus is going to be on Catholic social teaching. Pope Francis's new encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, is a letter addressed to brothers and sisters everywhere. The committee will find a way to share highlights of the letter with our parish community, with the main theme being Good Samaritan. And they're looking forward to being active again. So that is all I have from Living Justice at this point.
Thank you, Vicki. We'll move on to the safety and security, and I'll call on Chris Vestal, who's chair of that group.
Good evening. I'm committee chair for the safety and security. Essentially, our committee is we look at things that most people don't want to have to deal with. So we kind of worst case scenario stuff and try and come up with anticipate solutions. So in case they do happen, we have some plans in place for it. We've been meeting probably on average every quarter, and I think that's probably how we'll keep going for now. We're slowly coming up with plans to make our facility more secure. I do want to say a little bit here that when talking about security, I can go on for probably a couple hours if I like. I can do that, but let me quickly reassure a lot of people. The church itself is actually very securely constructed. The positioning of the 2 exit and entrances, there's only 2. We're bordered by 3 sides, 2 highways and private property. We have what I would call, I guess military term, a defense in depth. There's quite a bit of depth, and we have a wall back here yet behind the altar. So we're actually relatively well structured for security. So other than the cameras was our big expense, and that's to cover the parking lot. so both entrances are protected by camera. So having said that, I would say this, that what we'd like you to do is be part of the team as well, and that is be prepared and look around. Listen to people around you, okay? People who make violent threats against the church, okay, is not something that should be ignored. Okay, there are multiple reporting scenarios that you can do. Even Catholic Charities, this was a surprise to me, has a reporting system. So this can all be anonymous, but please, there's the, the sheriff, there's the, right here, the office here, again, there's the Catholic Charities. Report something if you hear it. Okay, that's probably the best defense that we can do for safety of our parish. All right, thank you.
I'd like to make a few comments about the Parish Mission Planning Group. About a year ago, there was a core team that received training from the diocese. You might wonder, where did this come from? All of the parishes of the diocese have been doing parish mission planning for the future. Now, this is not just something for this year, or it could be for the next 3 to 5 years. We were at the tail end of the system of parish mission planning. Quite a few of the parishes of the diocese had already completed it even before COVID began in March. We were just getting started in the fall, and so we were kind of truncated, cut off for a couple of months where we weren't gathering either. We had started, and then we picked up again, I think in June, to try to conclude at least the basic process. I just want to share the 5 topics that we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to be meeting in November with what we call goal owners, who are people in each one of them in one of these 5 areas, who are going to be seeking some team cooperation from you, and you out there at home as well. Volunteers who are willing to work and to accomplish setting up projects and how to succeed in accomplishing those projects. Some of the areas that we as a committee, as a group, and we were representative of somebody in the parish council, somebody on finance, a more senior member, a young member, Spanish community representative. There was just lots of good people representing different areas of our parish. So we concentrated on an evangelization, which you've been hearing from the bishop for several years now, the idea of sharing our faith. And one of the things we talked about was trying to get member engagement more active. Most of you sitting here, and probably 50% of you listening at home, are already mission active in the parish, but we want to invite more people to be not just a Sunday attender at Mass, but be involved in a variety of ways, whether it's a picnic, chairman, or committee for the raffle, or bingo, or whatever it is, all kinds of things that can be happening. So we're going to look at trying to beef up, if you want to say it that way, member engagement. Those people who are in the parish, to get them a little more active. Second area, promoting Catholic schools. Most of you are aware that this past year, the St. Francis of Assisi Catholic grade school in Manitowoc became part of the Roncalli school system, a regional school for all of Manitowoc County and beyond. And so, in promoting Catholic education, which some of you have had the experience of enjoying and being a part of in your lifetime, or maybe your children and grandchildren, we need to continue to pass our faith on, and that's one way. It's not the only way, but our Catholic school system is one way that we can promote the faith and continue to pass on the faith. And so different areas of that topic will be looked at. A third area is communication. One of the things we discussed that maybe some of our members don't know, for example, exactly what our staff does. What are their roles? who do I contact if I have a question here, and so on and so on. So basic communication, including strengthening our relationship with the Hispanic community, defining those roles of all the members, and then encouraging the sharing of the faith through evangelization. A fourth area, I wanted to mention the goal owner. First one with member engagement was Lori Jonathan as the goal owner. With evangelization, Patrick Carey, the chair of our parish council. Community communication is Renee Bruction, she's our secretary trustee. And the fourth area is young adults. We know when we look around at Mass that maybe we're missing some of those 18 to 35-year-olds especially. How do we get them more engaged? How do we get them involved? And one of the things we looked at is forming a young adult group and let them do some planning with our church leaders. This is something that can enliven our faith, but get it from them, and rather than saying this is what you should do. So involving the young adult and forming a young adult group actively, connecting it in some cases with the Otis group too, because we know that the Otis group up to COVID time at least was always very active, and so when they leave the Otis group, especially if they're staying in the area, how can we continue to keep them engaged? And that Jody Oswald is our goal owner for that area. She's on the parish council. Our fifth area is building maintenance and fundraising for those building maintenance areas that David Pfaffenbach talked about, and he's the goal owner for that. So they're going to be inviting some of you at home and here to help be involved, and also inviting people who maybe haven't been involved to this point too. So that's our parish mission planning. I read you the mission at the beginning. The reason we look at parish mission planning is to try to continue to enliven our parish and let it grow. Again, these areas of concentration are not to be accomplished all in 1 year. We'll probably start with one that will be a little bit more practical. For example, member engagement now with people not coming to church is not going to be very wise. We'll wait a while with that. So we'll make some priorities as to what we could begin to work with for our 2021 year. Okay, I have two more announcements. You all are aware that Jerry Zentner, our cemetery manager, retired in the late summer months. We have divided that job of cemetery manager in two parts. Sarah Wilkie, our receptionist and website manager, is taking care of the paperwork transactions involved in the job. For example, lot and niche sales, all the documentation that happens at a burial time and so on. So the paperwork and the office work she has assumed not as a part of her job, but as an additional job. And so she's the cemetery representative here in the parish, in the office. Joe Buckhouse has agreed to be our cemetery groundskeeper. And so he's doing, say, the outside jobs, checking on our lawn cutters in the area of cemeteries during the summertime, seeing that things are kept in order, doing some inspections, so on and so on, marking graves, the practical kinds of things that are outdoor. So that job's been split in two, and the cemetery committee, which is starting anew now with some new members, will be meeting 4 times a year to continue to animate them and also keep things going. Okay, I already mentioned the live camera for live streaming, so I'll stop there. Father Dave. Well, you know that besides being our sacramental minister, Father Dave is also our priest moderator, which is the official position that the diocese has given him in our regard. Since I'm not a canonical person, and I'm as being your leader here, we need a priest who oversees, keeps me in line. So we'll ask Father Dave to make some comments, and then we'll open it up for any questions or comments that you may have. I'm not sure who keeps who in line.
It's a good thing I get the last word. don't you love the phrase non-canonical person? You know, there are so many books that are written, and by the way, I come from a long line in the House of Davids, so I'll try to make sure that mine is as succinct as all of yours. There are many books written about parish life, and I'm part of a diocesan committee, actually the Diocesan Worship Commission, and there was a member that was touting nicely and rightly a textbook that said, oh my gosh, this book is worth getting because it tells you how to welcome parishioners. Okay. Isn't that wonderful? It tells you how to welcome parishioners. So as we gather to celebrate the only gift in life that matters, that our God is deeply in love with us, how do we incarnate that love? 5 things, briefly. 1, welcoming parishioners. Don't buy the book. Because deep in my heart, I didn't want to say anything. But welcome number 1 is on the outside. Welcome number 2 is on the inner doors. Welcome number 3 is Sister Marlena, who plants herself right in the middle. And number 4 is at the doors of our worship space. It really, save your money. Give it to the church. And charity. Save your money. It's so simple. I think the simplest things about loving escape us. And we need to read and write books. I think not. So here, people walk in, they tell me all the time, they walk into this place, and they sense the difference. They sense relationship, they sense love when they walk into this place, okay? Into this house of the church. I'm told that. I believe that. We all believe that. But you need to hear that. People that are new to the community, people who are here for the first time, they walk in and they just go, this place is different. And I said, what's different? The people. Not just Padre David, the people are different. So you are different. And the beautiful piece is that you have a pastor that knows people by name. So I'm always impressed that Sister knows so many folks, and especially even the tinies. She knows by name, the small size, the kidlets, the ankle biters. She knows all those people by name, which is a good thing. Which is a lesson for us all to make sure that we go up and say, who are you? I don't know your name. That's really important. Number 2, liturgy. Our liturgies here, our celebration of Eucharist, and so many other liturgies that we have, whether it be adoration or the rosary, whatever that might be, those liturgies are prayerful and engaged. They're quality because they're relational. Because we engage people and they're genuine. They're authentic. Our feet are on the ground because that's where the feet of Jesus are and were and continue to be, is on the ground. And that's what we want to be. When I was taking Mass class, when I was a seminary student, I kept a note from Father Eugene Walsh, who was my Mass class teacher, and here's what he said. Dave, he wrote it to me. Dave, keep your feet on the ground. That's where the people are. Good point. Keep your feet on the ground. That's where the people are. Number 3, faith formation. How we form one another in faith creatively. I think in the diocese there are over 17,000 faith formation children, over 9,000 day school children. They are all our children. All of our children. And that's what impresses me deeply, is that when people join our church, we look at them and say, how can we help you? Is it day school education? Is it faith formation? What is it going to be? Obviously for me now also giving a little bit to the Roncalli Catholic schools, to Pam Fisher and faith formation here, and all the beautiful catechists who witness. So that's what I think. I'd rather not call them catechists, I'd rather call them witnesses. That they witness their faith in Jesus Christ. That makes all the difference. They tell stories from their life, and that's what's attractive. Number 4, pastoral care. Excellent, heartfelt. Okay. And again, I go back. We do that during this COVID time. I know that Sister was getting teams of 10, pastoral council, whomever this was. I wasn't in touch because it was just COVID, but I know that to call parishioners, how are you? How are you? One by one, staying in touch. Oh my goodness. When Holy Family College was there during that time, I remember calling kids. I only got as far as F. Sister Louise got as far as S. and the poor people in the middle always seem to suffer. So we didn't get so far as we went, but we were calling every household by name. Good thing, beautiful thing to do with pastoral care, because pastoral care is expanding. If I could share one word, it's accompany. We wrote to Emmaus, that we accompany one another on the journey. Number 5, mission. That we continue to grow as missionary disciples. We have a long care here and a long history for mission. Beginning with, well, not beginning, but Burlington, Mississippi, and Haiti and Honduras, and all the different places that I don't even know about, that we sit and we go and we send mission trips. My memory of mission is always going to be when Hurricane Katrina hit, and there was big blasts in the newspaper about churches and what the churches were doing, and I remember getting up and saying, folks, let's not let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. And we sent 2 or 3 trips, and I know that folks used to say, isn't St. Thomas doing anything? And I just smiled. Just tell them I smiled as an gesture. Because the Lord knows we're doing something. I know we're supposed to advertise, but I think what's so beautiful is that we do the Lord's work, and we do it in a beautiful way, with care for other people. So finally, and that was my 5, it's been a joy and a privilege to accompany you on the journey of faith through all of these things. God truly is deeply in love with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. If you'll notice, we have some microphones around for questions. So it's not necessary that you come up here, but if you go to the microphone, make sure it's on, and ask, I think, then I can at least repeat it for those folks at home who are following on Facebook. If there are some questions or comments, it doesn't have to be a question either, or something that you want further information on that wasn't touched. Patrick. Push the button, right on the top.
I don't, but a comment to David. Congratulations to you and your committee for eliminating the debt. I also have another comment for David. I wonder if the Finance Committee has ever considered establishing a foundation for Catholic education for those families who send their kids to Catholic schools who need help, and for local education here in the parish. The reason I think about this is that in my former parish, 30 years ago, we established a Catholic foundation. It took a few years to get off the ground, but by now it has a multi-million-dollar foundation, only the interest of which is used for Catholic education. So that's something to consider for the future.
Do you think that's come across? Let me just comment, David, before you answer. Patrick commented, congratulations to Finance as far as the debt retirement and that being behind us now. And the other suggestion is that a foundation be established for Catholic education. And from his experience at another parish, those monies can gain momentum and only the interest is used so that we can support Catholic education and our students that might be involved in Catholic education in the future.
Can I say a word about we do have a religious debt fund. We actually got a couple investments in the St. Francis Xavier Fund. We have one that's strictly got put in, was it the last year? We have one that's strictly for religious education, it's already cooking. So that can be added to, so it's open. And the comes out of that. We already have, we haven't put it towards anybody yet. And then I think the Roncalli school system, there's also tuition assistance for education, right, Father Dave? So there is already now, if somebody, one of the Hispanic families wants to send their children to Roncalli or the new regional grade school, middle school, I think there's going to be tuition assistance for those families that need it. So it's not as expensive, if you want to call it that, as what it used to be. But our church has a fund already started this past year. We receive monies for it, it's been invested, and we get monthly interest on it. And it's grown. So, and also the parish also has some of the monies that we received from Bernice's Creek estate that we used for paying down the debt. We took some of that and already put that in. The church has an investment fund, and it's grown. Presently, we have about $55,000 in it. So we've picked up about 10 grand in the last year or two since we started. So we actually have that, and we have, of course, the cemetery fund, which is for the monies from that to be used to take care of the cemeteries, and that's well over $200,000. And that just keeps growing all the time. So pretty soon we're going to start using some of the monies that are earned there. I think right now at the present time we want to do that to see where things are going. So actually our church has 3 investment funds. Maybe Marietta's has a word on that.
Well, I just want to clarify that the cemetery investment funds, we only can use the income. That money, by state law, needs to be in place to take care of the cemeteries if, for some foreseeable reason in the future, this community ceased to exist. Those cemeteries need to be taken care of. We've all seen rundown cemeteries. So a number of years ago, there was laws passed in the state of Wisconsin to try and guarantee that that doesn't happen in the future. And so we only can use the excess income. Yeah, and we don't really have a lot of that. It sounds like we do, but it's all based on acreage and all kinds of other things, the way the law works. So, but David is right. We do on occasion tap into that excess to help give back and pay some of those bills that maybe the parish has assumed during the course of the year. Is that correct?
Right. The religious ed fund, I think, sister, that's the same way, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. We just can use the monies that are earned on the investment to assist, and we can put money into that. There's no reason anybody can't say, here, I want to give you $1,000 to put into this fund. Whatever interest we get out of there, we can put towards religious education. That's for our church.
Yes, that resulted from an annuity with that restriction that was for religious education. I wanted to comment on Catholic education because I had noted that for myself as well. We have 54 young people involved in Catholic education, 48 of them in the Roncalli system and 6 in the Divine Savior system at Kiel. And that is an increase of 21 from last year. So we had 3 Hispanic families who enrolled 3 children, so that was 9 right there, through the help of parent choice as well. And they realized that they could afford to send their children to Catholic school. And I give Roncalli credit for the last couple of years. They've been doing quite a bit of PR to get some of those families. Unfortunately, in Mexico and some of the South American countries, they would never be able to even think about private education. And so they have to change their mentality and realize that there are other ways to do it besides just out of their pocket. And so we were happy to see several more families involve their children in Catholic education, from grade school up through high school. Anyone else with comment or question? Yes, Chris?
Following on that same note, I'm looking at information.
Is your microphone on?
I'm looking at the tuition and visa assistance and educational subsidies, and that was quite a significant jump. And I'm wondering now with the regional Catholic school system, if those would end up being combined, or if you can clarify what differentiates the difference between the two?
There was a large jump this year, yes, but that now is going to continue to go down, so our percentage that we need to pay to support the Rock County school system will continue to decrease.
Okay, so the subsidies are for the Rock County education system.
And Divine Savior Keel. We have 6 children from the parish that are in.
What's tuition and fee assistance?
Okay, what's your question again?
Okay, there's tuition and fee assistance, and then there's educational subsidies.
Okay, the subsidy would be what we're asked to pay toward Catholic education. Yeah, the subsidy. And we realized that it did take a jump this year because what had happened was this. We have lots of parishes in the Manitowoc system. We were paying about 14% of our budget toward Catholic education. That should be between 25 and 35% if everybody's going to do their fair share. And so when the Rock County Regional School was formed, rather than St. Francis carrying 50% of their budget for the school, then all of the parishes, Michigan, Two Rivers, ourselves, St. Ignatius, all of them were assessed, you could say, a percentage. And so it's a little more equalized, put it that way. We don't have a Catholic school here, but we certainly support Catholic education. And so that jump this year was significant, but it's going to be going down now each year, a certain percentage, and I'm trying to remember what that percentage is. I don't recall it now, I'd have to refresh my memory. So, and from our merger that, 3 of our 4 parishes did have Catholic schools at one time, so lots of you and your own parents and grandparents that were supporting a lot of those Catholic schools years back. We still want to be supportive of Catholic education. It's not the only way to pass on the faith, but it certainly is one way that's proven to be effective. Marietta.
I might not have this completely accurate. Lori, you might be able to be a little more help me with this a little bit. I think what we were looking at is trying to sort out the difference between educational subsidies and tuition and fee assistance. The educational subsidies was $24,389, and the tuition and fee assistance was $63,750. I'm thinking, if I'm recalling correctly, the elementary schools and middle schools would be the tuition and fee assistance, that's $63,000. And the $24,389 would be Roncalli High School, maybe?
Well, right now it's not.
No, but this is, remember,
last year.
This is
okay.
last year.
Oh, yes. Okay, you're right.
Okay, so I think that hopefully will clarify the difference. The one, we had to pay a subsidy to Roncalli High School, and we had our tuition and fee assistance. Also, we had a number of little schools that are now merged into the Roncalli system. So if we had students that were going to those little schools, they roll out now this whole, you would combine these two together, which would be $88,000. And then if you were to look at our Roncalli assessment this year, it and Divine Savior together, you would have to look at these two added together to see compare it to the current year's budget.
Thank you for that reminder.
Would that be correct, sister?
Yes. I forgot we were looking back for the report, that's true. In the school system of Manitoba, we were paying about $3,000 a student last year for elementary. And in the high school, we were paying, it's a subsidy, it's not per student, it's a subsidy. But for the 12 students that we had, it was around 27,000 total. So yes, that's right, we settled it last year. Anything further that someone would like to comment or question? I just have a few closing remarks then, if everyone's satisfied. I want to say a very grateful thank you to all of you, not just on behalf of finance, but just on behalf of all of our parish for your wonderful support to St. Thomas through these last 7 months. We know that it's been hard, not to be able to come, especially those of you at home that do want to be a little bit more careful about your health and stay put, and we encourage you to do that. But you've not forgotten St. Thomas, and that's wonderful. So we find your envelope in the mail, or we find it somewhere else, or you send it in. And that's important, because even though you're not getting the direct service of the live mass, and you're not here presently with us, you haven't forgotten us, and that's wonderful. And that's enabled us to continue to function in this lively a manner as we can under the circumstances. So we just appreciate your continued support and financial support, as you've been generous, most generous. And I think several times, both at the Zoom meetings we had for several months for finance, and now we're back to live meetings, we've said that. We said it's been very encouraging that people are continuing to support our parish, even though maybe directly you're not receiving a whole lot of services right now. So thank you for that. We appreciate that. We hope that as you can, you'll continue to support us. And we'll certainly try as staff members and committee people to continue to enliven as much as we can and include you in all of the things that we're doing. And we hope soon we can be again, an active community together, which would be just wonderful again. If we have no further business, sorry, no social this year. Just going to keep it simple and keep you all safe. So thank you again for coming. Thank you at home for listening. If you have any questions at home, we didn't get any through the chats. Okay, Sarah was going to watch that and see if there was anything at home. But if you have something, give me a call. Give us a call. We'll try to answer your questions. Thank you. Good night.